and welcome to the Groveland Council on Aging's Men's Breakfast.
You have a slug of that.
Oh yeah, you can have a slide.
People will get the impression that it's daytime drinking. It's not. So good morning and welcome to this morning's Council on Aging Men's Breakfast. I'm happy to see everyone on this nippy February day. I'd like to welcome all of you and to give a special welcome this morning to our speaker, who hails from the Eagle Tribune in terms of his work. I'd like to have you meet Bill Burt.
Are we here good? So, all right. So I noticed the price went up on the breakfast. Just so you know, my $5,000 fee has not changed. Okay. So that has nothing to do with it. Yes, very expensive. Hopefully the fire trucks will run after this speech. So, hey guys, thanks for having me. This has been about, I don't know if we're pushing 10 years, but it's close. Seems like about 10. And I'm back. It's good timing. I just got back from Minneapolis, which I heard someone just say that it's cold out right now. I'm just going to tell you, it doesn't compare to what I witnessed and felt for a week in Minneapolis. So I here to talk about a little of everything. I was at the Super Bowl. I was at the Celtics on Sunday. Saw the Bruins 2 nights ago. The Red Sox pitchers and catchers start tomorrow. We have a reporter who just flew down there yesterday. So we at the Eagle Tribune family, North of Boston Media Group, which is the Eagle Tribune, Salem News, Newburyport News, and Gloucester Times. So we have all those papers. We have a couple magazines as well. So we got a lot of products that I'm working for right now. So I'll give you a little, sort of not an update, but for some guys that forget my past, this is, I started the Eagle Tribune in 1983. September 11th, 1983. Now, September 11th is not big because of the date, September 11th, but that date, the reason why that date's important is, and I realized it, I've told this story, I told you guys before, but I know you forgot it because sometimes I forget it. I was at the 2007 World Series, sorry, ALCS in Cleveland. And I look up on the board, and of Cleveland, they put the players' pictures up, who's the batter that's up at the plate, and they little bio on them and their birthday. And so one particular player, I saw his birth date, and I go, wow, that date looks familiar. So then it hit me, that date looks familiar. So next thing you know, I cover the games. They beat Cleveland in 7 games. They were down 3-1, came back and won. It was a great series. But I'm home working in my office a couple nights later, and I look, and on my desk is the very first story I ever wrote, which, by the way, was right down the street here at Pentucket Regional. It was North Andover, Pentucket football, September 11th, 1983. So the player whose birthday was born, the day I wrote my first story was the day he was born, was Jacoby Ellsberg. So, and I told him, and he thought that was cool, and I think he told me to bring the story in. I don't even know, he probably threw it away. But so I had a little time. So when you see Jacoby Ellsbury, you think of me. That's when I started in this business. And literally, it was right down the street. North Andover beat Pentucket, and I believe longtime coach of Pentucket.
Flaherty?
Excuse me?
Tom Flaherty? Or
No. He just started. It was his first game as well. So his first game was my first game, first day in the business. It'll hit me. He's a great guy. He's great. Excuse me?
Steve Hayden?
Steve Hayden, sorry. Great guy. I'll never forget his wife there the first game, but they lost to North Andover. So it's been a long ride since then. As I've said before, I went to Merrimack College. We were talking hockey here today. Northeastern won the Bean Pot. I went to Merrimack. I am a big hockey guy, so I go to hockey. I don't go as a writer. I go as a fan. It's the one thing I keep away from. So whenever anything breaks at Merrimack College, I have nothing to do with it at the Eagle Tribune because of my ties to the school. My son goes to Northeastern. He's a senior baseball player, by the way. My flight leaves Thursday at 8:30 a.m. and I'm going to Florida for 12 days, and then gonna watch some baseball, then come back home, then go back to Florida. And I think I've earned a little of it. We had a busy football season, if you guys follow Patriots at all. From literally the beginning of August, since really the first week of February, I've been with the team every weekend. And went to every game this year, and was there a week in Minneapolis. Interesting story there. Beautiful stadium, one of the most beautiful stadiums I've ever seen. Everyone told me, you're going to love the people from Minnesota, love them. They were great, really nice. It was the coldest I've ever been in my life at a sporting event. before, and not, thank God it was inside. But that week, you know, I've been to Super Bowls before. I've been to all the Patriots Super Bowls other than the first when they lost to the Bears. I went to the one in '96. I've been to all 8 of the Brady Belichick Super Bowls, and I've been to one other. And this Super Bowl was the first time I ever got up out of my hotel on 3 different occasions to start my day, and there's 2 inches of snow on my windshield with ice. And I'm saying, come on, where is New Orleans? You know, I've been to a couple in New Orleans. There's sometimes I don't remember everything that happened in New Orleans, but we won't get into that. Honestly had a great time. That's my favorite place, more because everything was close. But people were great. I understand why the NFL had the Super Bowl there. Beautiful stadium. If you build a stadium, the Super Bowl will come. That's what the NFL does. The NFL goes to the cities who are thinking of building a Super Bowl, and they ask the citizens to pay, which is a sticking point. You know, if you can help pay maybe 75%, 50%, the commissioner comes in and says, if you do that, we will have a Super Bowl at your facility. We'll guarantee 1, maybe 2, and you will get back 1/3 of the money you spent on the Super Bowl. So that's how they sell it. So next year, Super Bowl is in Atlanta. Guess what Atlanta's doing right now? Building a new stadium. Houston, a couple years ago, built a new stadium. Phoenix in Arizona. Now Arizona's a little different. It's really a Super Bowl location. So, so I've been around the block a little bit with the NFL, with the Patriots. I'm sure we'll have some questions here. I'm going to speak for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'll be glad to take your questions. I'm assuming a lot of it will be Patriots, some of the Red Sox, because they are starting literally tomorrow, pitchers and catchers. But very interesting year. I thought the Patriots were the best team from the start, and I thought they were until 2 minutes ago in the game when Brady needed a touchdown to win. This is before the sack. I said, he's going to do it, and they're going to win 6 Super Bowls, and Brady's going to be Muhammad Ali. That's how I basically likened it. Not forget Joe Montana. He's Muhammad Ali. He's Michael Jordan. We're talking special. And I still think that's the case, though he got sacked, fumble, then it fell apart and they lose, and then all of a sudden the Malcolm Butler controversy picks up steam. We wouldn't have talked about it if they'd won the game, but the fact that they lost the game, we got to wonder what was Belichick thinking. And if you try to wonder what Belichick's thinking, you're going to lose that battle, because I don't know. Interesting guy. You got to take with Belichick, I've said this many times. If you want the good, you got to take, and I don't know if bad's the right word, you got to take the what is he thinking? What is he doing? The one thing you can count on, the Patriots are going to compete, and they're going to be there in the end. I think next year, same thing. It doesn't look good right now. It's depressing. When the Patriots lose, it's like the world ends. Let's be honest. If they lose during the regular season, it's a week of what happened. Belichick's the sorest loser in America. His press conferences, he mumbles, which he'll do even after winning. But it's when the Patriots lose, because it happens so little around here. It's like cause for, wow, is this over? The dynasty, and we've been doing this for years, and I keep saying, guys, don't do it. Don't bet against them yet. Tom Brady just won MVP. I think we forget that. Now, I know he's 41. He looks 32. Girls, he does look 32. He is a good-looking guy in person. I got to give it to him. And, so I understand. But and that's why I believe he's not done yet. I don't even think he's close to being done. I think he's got at least 2 more years of what we saw, and I'll tell you why. His decision making is still there. He does look 32 years old, and it's not. He looks more like a golfer than a football player. This new plyometrics thing that he's been working on, it works. He's smarter than he's ever been. I mean, he's a better quarterback now, believe it or not, than he was in 2007, because now he moves around a little better in the pocket. He finds ways to get open. Now we got to figure out other things. Where's Gronk going? Is Gronk going to the movies? What are they going to do defensively? Need 4 or 5 guys to fill spots there. So that's going to be interesting, the way they rebuild the team. Belichick and Brady and Kraft, they got some stuff they got to take care of, because when people say, is there a rift? There is a rift. There's decisions that, Belichick, I think, feels like he's earned the right to make all the decisions, football decisions. He's right, and he has for the most part, except with the quarterback. And that's where Kraft comes in. And I think Kraft met with Belichick 2 days after the Super Bowl, and it was, I'm the owner. You're not the owner, I'm the owner. And the only thing I'm going to tell you, other than I want to know all the big decisions you make, I just want to know about them, Tom Brady's going to be our quarterback. And I think this discussion was had in October, which is why Jimmy Garoppolo was traded. I don't think Tom Brady wanted Jimmy hanging around. I think Tom Brady made the point to the owner. I don't think he made it to the coach. I'm doing this for a couple more years, so I'm not going away. I'm planning on being the quarterback for the Patriots for 2 to maybe even 3 or 4 years. We'll see what happens there. And I think the owner agreed with them. Personally, I agree with them. But so Jimmy Garoppolo's traded. Jimmy Garoppolo's perfect right now, but I will say it's very easy, as Bill Parcells told me, it's very easy to go from. It's easier to go from 5-11 to 10-6 than it is to go from 10-6 to 12-4. So that's the easy part, the first part. The second part is the different part. You become a Super Bowl team. So we got a lot to talk about with the Patriots. There's a lot going on. I will tell you, we haven't even brought up the Bruins. The first team I ever remember adoring in this town were the Bruins. I was 7 years old when the Bruins won the Cup. I'll never forget where I was when they won. It was during the daytime. Bobby Orr scored in overtime. They beat St. Louis. They swept them. The Bruins right now have quietly, literally could be the best team in Boston. And they are exciting to watch. They're tough. They let go of the coach, which I wasn't sure was a good decision. It was a great decision. This team's sort of coming out of its shell after being sort of, I think, playing with shackles for a few years. Celtics, a little disappointing lately. Bad loss the other night, but they're going upward, and they're a year away from pushing Golden State. Maybe 2 years, but they're very close. And then the Patriots. The Red Sox, believe it or not, might be the worst team, and that's saying something, because they're still a top 4 team in the American League. So we are very lucky. We complain a lot about, go to New Orleans, go to Cleveland. Cleveland, I know, has a couple of good teams now, but go to a couple other cities, and they don't we don't really sometimes understand how lucky we are. And I see it at Patriots games, where you have a cold, sort of chilly day, 15 degrees, 20 degrees, which in Minnesota, by the way, is warm. If you have one of those days, there's a section of seats, those red seats, they're the club seats, and you can tell the fans, they do not, if it's cold, they stay inside and watch the game on TVs. And that's what we've sort of become, this sort of soft, we expect winning. If you don't win, you're lousy. You don't win championships, it's very disappointing. I get it. But sometimes I think we take it for granted. No, not sometimes. I think we take it for granted, and I'm guilty too. I think we all thought it was going to be a walkover against Philadelphia, or thought it'd be a tough game, but and Philadelphia was not afraid of the Patriots. I believe it's not Butler. That wasn't the reason the Patriots lost. The reason the Patriots lost was Philadelphia was not afraid of the Patriots. Everyone is afraid of the Patriots. Coaches make dumb decisions at the end of games. We've seen it in Super Bowls. We've seen it, Jacksonville, end of the first half, they have a chance to score with a minute to go, 3 timeouts, so they take a knee. Playing the Patriots makes people sort of go crazy. It didn't make Philadelphia. They were not afraid of the Patriots. And 4th and 1, go for it. 4th and 1, fake play, throw it to the quarterback. I love that stuff. So the Patriots now have to regroup and say, all right, we don't have that edge over people. Now we got to go. We now just playing smart football isn't enough. And it's going to be interesting what they do this offseason, because I think they need a big overchange of some part of the roster, specifically on defense, which I think was the worst Super Bowl defense in the history of the Super Bowl. So I'll take all your questions. I know there's going to be a bunch of them. All sports, bring it on.
I got a question about the last play of the Super Bowl.
Last play.
Brady made a good move to duck under and come out.
Looked like Flutie in
Yeah.
that game against Minnesota.
He was able to
All right.
launch that ball, but I've noticed the end zone, it looked like Gronk was surrounded by a lot of players, and he didn't get any elevation. The
Well,
ball looked like it was coming right down to him.
Right. The problem was there were seven Philly guys. If you didn't see what happened, okay, one thing that happens a lot in those plays,
Yeah, somebody hold him.
other guys are pushed and shoved, and the referees don't ever call interference, ever on that play. If you saw running down the field was Chris Hogan got leveled at the 15-yard line. He was on his back when the ball went in the air.
Okay.
Now that's interference.
Yeah.
They didn't call it, and they're never calling it at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
That was a blatant interference. Now, if that happens, the Patriots get the ball. Well,
Yeah.
it would have been at the 15. But yeah, so that's he was there. And by the way, I think the play was he was going to try to tip it to Danny Amendola. If you saw Danny dive too late
Yeah,
and the ball hit the
back
ground.
and- yeah.
But you know what? It shouldn't come down to that. If they don't have if he doesn't get one, I mean, let's be honest. Philly defense was as bad as the Patriots defense. I mean, Brady went up and down the field on them. I mean, they didn't punt it once, the Patriots. Not one punt. And they made one play on defense. They strip sacked them and got the fumble. Patriots made zero. It was like a Pedro Martinez, Roger Clemens game. It was 1-0. They made one play. Patriots made none.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
What's Philadelphia gonna do with their two quarterbacks? Well, they're keeping.
Yeah, Wentz is the guy. I think now the only issue is Wentz might not be ready for the beginning of the year. So what they have to do is get Foles. It's all up to Foles. He can say, I want out. I mean, if I'm Foles, I want my team. This is Wentz's team. I mean, Wentz said to him, it's a great quote after the game, he went to Foles and said, hey, this is great. This is going to be me next year. I'm going to be you next year. So you're basically telling Foles, you're done. What Foles did was amazing. I would, if I'm running a franchise, his fearlessness, he's a different guy than the guy that played for the last 2 or 3 years. So, look, there's 7 or 8 teams. Jacksonville, couple of teams that are like a quarterback away from a Super Bowl, and I don't even want to put San Francisco there yet. Jacksonville's one of them. Like, put him on Jacksonville. That might be the best team in the AFC.
So Foles can opt out if he wants?
Foles can ask for a trade. See, the thing is, he's worth a first-round draft pick, maybe more. So does Philadelphia say, all right, we can get a first-round pick and maybe a second-round pick, because that's what he's worth right now. I mean, Jimmy G was a second-round pick. I think if he was available right now, he'd be a first and a second or 2 firsts. So there's value to Foles. And if I'm Foles, I mean, do I want to be a backup? No. So watch for him. There's a couple of teams that are, and I'm not even saying, there might even teams that are like 8-8 teams where he makes them a 11-5 team. So I'm a big Nick Foles guy, and he won me over the game before that at Minnesota. I didn't expect what he did in the Super Bowl. I thought the Pats defense was going to be good. I was wrong. So good point.
That's will make it different next year when Hightower comes back too.
Yes.
That was a big.
That was a big loss. He was, it's funny, 2 players. On offense, it was Edelman. Edelman's the heart and soul of the Patriots. People have to understand that. But I will say this, Danny Amendola sort of stepped into that role, because Danny Amendola doesn't, the middle of the field is not really his specialty. His specialty is down the field a little bit. Because Brady, for 11 years, had Welker and Edelman. 5 yards in the middle, they dive for 4 more, taking 2 or 3 hits. It's a physical position, that slot. Amendola played a different one, but this year, at the end, Amendola stepped in and basically became Edelman. Edelman, though, is the heart and soul of the team. He's the guy, he's fearless, he's a talker on the sidelines. What are we doing? You know, you need more of those guys. So he's coming back. On defense, my point is, the heart and soul of the defense was Donta Hightower. Now, he's not a superstar, but he's a very good player who's always in the right place. And him being there allows, like Van Noy was not that good, he's not that good of a player, but if you put him in a different position where he's less reliant, he becomes a better player. So that's why losing Hightower and filling it with, you know, Joe, Smith, Steve, you know, there were guys who basically, they got off the street. I mean, Eric Lee was on the practice squad with Buffalo. They put him at defensive end. I mean, no one knew who he was. He was picked up in late November, and he's playing on starting in the Super Bowl. Van Noy, lousy player for Detroit, is the middle linebacker, the key guy for the Patriots. And that's a role that is still probably not worthy for him. So good point. But they need more. Pass rush was his bet. Look, we know I don't can't break down everything that happens on a football field. I do know this: they can't get pressure on the quarterback. It's more of stop the receivers, and then the quarterback has to run around and sack. The Patriots, and they had a guy a couple of years ago, Chandler Jones. They need a guy that can once a game make that one play. That's all it is. I mean, go back to the game. Philadelphia made one play on defense and won the game. Put lousy defense the whole game. One play. And now they're all heroes, and they were jumping up and down. Yeah, so. Next.
So, what do you think happened with Butler that upset Belichick?
So personally, I think Butler has had a tough year to begin with. Yeah, lousy in expectation-wise. We thought he was better. He's still he is going to be a free agent. Someone's going to sign him, and he's going to make a little bit of money. He's probably not going to make as much as he originally thought. But I think he had problems. It's funny, when the one player a year that has a money issue, like is mad about his contract and brings it on the field, they don't really mesh well with Belichick. And I know it's his team. My thing was, Butler knew this was going to be his last year. Made $4 million this year. I mean, chump change here. I know, and there's not a lot of money here in Groveland. It is other places. But Butler just wasn't. He was better 3 years ago, to be honest with you, 2 years ago, and then last year showed signs, and then this year was just so inconsistent. I mean, they picked on him. I mean, it was obvious. I mean, Jacksonville picked on him, and I was surprised, not that he didn't play a lot, that he didn't even get in the game when the defense was as horrible as it was. Eric Rowe and Batamosi, they're both third-tier guys right now. And at worst, Butler's a second-tier guy. Maybe issues with coaches, maybe issues, I'm not doing this. I remember, I was at the game in Buffalo the year before when they killed Buffalo in Buffalo, but they gave up 2 late touchdowns, and it sort of got close. And it was the middle linebacker, Jamie Collins, who missed an assignment. On 2 assignments, they scored 2 touchdowns, so we're no big deal. The next day trades him to Cleveland for a 3rd-round pick. And it's like, why would he do that? Because Jamie Collins was upset about his contract and basically wasn't listening to coaches. You don't listen to coaches, you're gonna mess us up on the field. So I believe there were some issues with Butler related to Butler not, quote unquote, doing his job. I do know he was well liked in the locker room. He was. So it's going to be interesting. That story will officially come out soon. We'll know exactly. It's tough to get any information out of there. Butler, apparently, I think the fact that he hasn't probably come out and told the whole story means he might be a little bit culpable as well. So it's disappointing that would come up in the Super Bowl. That's the disappointing part. because that's the game you want to win. That defines everyone. If you ask all the players, play them. Just we want to win the game. As a coach, if Butler is maybe not following rules, maybe breaks a team rule, maybe shows up late, what are you telling the rest of the team, some of the young guys who are going to stay there next year? Well, we'll let Butler play because we needed to win a game. Your rules are your rules. Now, that being said, it's easy for people to say that. Fans at home, they just want to win the Super Bowl. They don't want to know how it happened. They just want to win it. So,
What about the running back situation?
I mean, that's the strength of the team, to be honest
Yeah,
with
but
you.
they got two guys that are free agents.
Yes, well, Dion is the guy, and Belichick loves him. Now, yeah, I would say that's not going to be a problem. The Patriots have figured that position out. Now, you could go the Jacksonville route, the Rams route, draft a guy 5th, 6th overall, and these guys are good, but the Patriots draft, they don't draft, they get 3 guys who can catch the ball, because the Patriots' offense is different. They're not going to run the ball down your throat. That's not going to be their offense. It's going to be more a little ding, a little pass, run it up the middle, and they got 3 guys, and it's funny, I did a story on Rex Ryan, I don't know if you read it during the Super Bowl, where he said it's amazing the Patriots just get these guys. They all look alike, they all play alike, and they all make plays. And that's what their running game did. So I will say Dion Lewis, big-time Belichick guy. Belichick does not mention players a lot. Even Brady, if you say, hey, tell me about Brady. Yeah, he's a good player. Well, no, he's not a great player. He's the greatest player that ever lived. But Dion Lewis showed his heart, and we saw, he'll go on and on. Danny Amendola, you would think Danny Amendola is his son, where he'll do that for a couple of guys. So I think the running game, that's the least of their problems. I believe Dion Lewis but he's the key guy. But White is signed to a long-term deal, and they just signed. It'll hit me here. Burkhead, and Burkhead's a Patriot. He's bought in. He's 100% in, so no issues there. But Dion Lewis, I'll be honest with you, he was one of the guys. I wrote like 7 guys in the Super Bowl who I trusted for the Patriots. I didn't trust Cooks. I trusted Dion Lewis, and Dion Lewis is one of those guys. He's a Belichick guy. Belichick will go a little over, not a lot, a little over, unless someone breaks the bank for him. The only thing is he's sort of, he's on the tail end. Running backs after 5, 6 years are usually on the end.
I don't know enough about football to ask a football question.
Okay.
But I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Was the stadium full, and what's the price range of the tickets?
Okay. So, the stadium was full. You're talking the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yes. When I say beautiful stadium, I mean it was warmer than warm inside. Looked great. Now, from the outside, it looked like a Viking ship. It's amazing. And the inside, you'd never know it. But from the outside, it looked like a ship, and they did an incredible job. Inside was Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, it reminded me of. It's like there's windows on the back, so if it's light, you can see in, and then the roof is retractable. Obviously, you're closing the roof there. But, look, I went to the Super Bowl in Houston and in in Arizona, where they had retractable roofs, and they leave them shut. They do not, it's got to be perfect, 75 and sunny.
That's what I was wondering, temperature inside at playing time plus humidity, what is it at usually?
75 degrees.
Okay.
Yes.
Humidity's probably 40, 50.
Yes, probably about
50.
that, yeah.
That's what I was curious, because they get this big vast of space, they're paying mucho dollars to keep where they want.
So the lowest price ticket was $1,200.
You interested?
It's
Not
$1,200,
yet.
and then they went from $2,100 to $5,000, and then I think there was some special $12,000 seats.
I had
So-
heard as much as $6,100.
Well, no, okay, no, I think it was more, 1,200. But see, yeah, the brokers take over. Yeah, it's. I mean, they sold out easy, and there were people trying to get in. So they could have had the prices could have even been higher. I mean, the NFL is trying barely to keep these prices kept down. But I had a couple. My nephew went to the game with my brother-in-law, my other nephew. They spent $1,250 for the seats. So and they were up in the boom, way far away in the cheap seats.
Well, what I don't understand, what little bit I don't catch on TV,
Yep.
just because I wake up after I change the channel in my sleep.
Right.
And I happen to be in a football game or a baseball or something. But why would anybody spend that kind of money when you can see so much more on the TV?
It's not that. Listen, I will say going to a Patriots game in Foxborough, you know, if a 1 o'clock game, you know, you get there at 9, you get your grill going, you throw a football out, you get the experience. You're there at the stadium. That's why you go. 1 o'clock game, you get home at 7 or 8. You know, game ends at 4, traffic an hour. You get home at, let's say, 7, 8 o'clock. It's a great day. It's the 4 o'clock game, you get home at midnight. It's the 8 o'clock game, you get home at 2 and 3 in the morning. So for me, the 1 o'clock game is the game. I would say I do understand, I'm sort of with you. Why leave when you can have your fridge, your lazy boy?
Yeah.
I could see you on a lazy boy.
Replays.
Yes. Replays. Well, they do show replays.
Yeah.
They do show replays of the game. I mean, now the jumbotrons are huge. But the Super Bowl is a Super Bowl. You can say you were there. I mean, if like I had a guy who went to the Super Bowl the year before in Houston, and it's 28-3, and it's a third quarter, and he's saying, "Why did I come?" And then after the game, he's, you know, he went to a religious experience, you know. So it's the Super Bowl. That's a little different. Personally, when I'm watching a game, if I'm watching a Patriots game, I don't want, you know, a bunch of people bothering me. You know, hey, look what dress she has on at halftime. You know, I'll pick up the table and throw it. And so I want to watch the game. And so that would be me personally. Now, if Pittsburgh's playing Carolina, you know, you're at a Super Bowl party and you're laughing at the commercials, that's fine.
My lack of knowledge showed up about years ago. I was on the police department.
Yep.
When it was a part-time job. And I worked a football game down at Masconomet. And I'm there to do traffic and so forth. And the thing says 3 minutes left to play. So I head for the parking lot to direct traffic. I mean, I thought there were half an hour and nobody's coming out.
That's what happens. And
That's what I know about football.
Yep.
You know, the people leave early.
Yep.
You know, they figure, all the game's over, I gotta beat the traffic and
Yep.
all that. That blows my mind.
So why go to the game?
Why even go to the
Right.
game?
I wouldn't walk
I mean, a lot of people do that.
Right.
They're out in the parking lot then wondering if they can get back in again.
And then a lot of people want to just say they went to the games to tell their friends to be
Yeah.
impress them. I will say it's a football game, an NFL game, even probably college football, the big games. It's a day.
Yeah.
So it's like traveling to California. You're giving your day up. So
Yeah.
and that's the way it is. But some people love it, and it's, you know, the NFL's. I don't want to say it's perfect, but it's once a week, so it's not a lot. And then you're on the road for 2 weeks, so you get a break.
Yeah.
You can watch games on TV. The NFL, you know, it's like a cookie cutter league. You play. Now, I'm not a Thursday night football guy. I think I work and cover teams, and I forget it's Thursday, and I go, oh my God, there's a game tonight. Who's playing? I don't even know.
Yeah.
And it's too much. I think the Thursday night game, but from the Sunday to Sunday game is the game ends on Sunday. Monday, you talk about the game that just was played. Tuesday's a day off. Wednesday, you look ahead. So it's like a cookie cutter. It's everything set. You talk to Brady Wednesday, then you talk to Brady on Sunday. Everything is, you know what you're getting. You know, baseball's a little unpredictable. I mean, all these sports are sort of unpredictable. You don't know what you get. In football, you know what Tuesday. If I just say Tuesday, I'm off Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why it's easy for fans and for the media. It's marketing. Most people would rather stay home. It's made for TV because of the highlights and the videos. Now they got the camera, you know, where it's weird. I still don't get it, but all of a sudden the picture moves and you get behind that's that new camera they have. And again, I don't understand it, but it looks great. We don't get that at the stadium. So NFL marketing machine. Now the sport's struggling a little bit with, they had the kneeling, and then they had the concussions, and they got to figure that out. And because it's like for years we praised big hits. I mean, when you guys were growing up, it was show me videos of Butkus rubbing it in his head and, you know, punching a guy after a play. Can't do that anymore. Different animal. I remember the play, one of the last games of the year, Pittsburgh played the Ravens. And remember, the receiver cold cocked the middle linebacker for Cincinnati, who's a dirty player, perfect. And it was like payback for all he's done to other players. And so he hits him. It was a legal hit. Shoulder into the head. You know, didn't mean to hit him in the head maybe, but he stood over him and started talking to him. And 5 years ago, you can do that.
Yeah.
With concussions right now, you can't do that anymore. So the NFL's got to figure that out because they're losing kids. Parents are afraid to put their kids in football. So this is a whole other issue we could talk about anytime is flag football. Maybe flag football up to 7th or 8th grade, and then then tackle football, because they say the worst part is kids getting concussions in 5th and 6th and 7th grade, and then they're the ones who really struggle as adults when you get a concussion that early. So that football's got a lot of work to do. See, I believe baseball's got to find a way to get more people involved. Football's got to find a way to keep more people. So it's an interesting dichotomy.
Now, next year, do you think they'll do away with this kneeling or get around it so they?
Yeah, I don't know. It's
They
too
got
bad.
hurt with that pretty badly.
It's too bad. I'm against it. I'm against. I think you know, the national anthem for me represents more than, you know, it's the one time you don't protest. You want to protest. Protesting is fine, but
Picked on the wrong thing there.
well, we're honoring. I look at the Star Spangled Banner and I look at going to games. We're honoring people that fought and died for our country, and I think you're disrespecting them.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it personally, and they don't. They've said so. What happens is the issue is turned into them, not the military, and that's how I've always looked at it personally. I'm not even saying I'm right, but that's how I looked at it. Honoring people who have died for or fought for our country.
Yep.
And I'm not going to take the knee. So do it somewhere else. But they know, and I will tell you, Colin Kaepernick's girlfriend, she's the one that figured this out. What's important to a lot of these people is the national anthem. Take a knee or sit down during the anthem, which is what he did, and which I believe is wrong. That's all. Do it somewhere else. I'm not into kneeling. I'm into helping. So help others. With kneeling, what does that do? And I saw a player talk about it the other day. He said that it's not, if you take a knee and don't do anything, it's worthless. So do something. That's all. That's my thing. I'm quit complaining, do something.
Somebody said the other day, kneel for the Lord and stand for the flag. I
Yes,
thought that was
that's a
pretty
good one. Can I steal that?
Yeah, you can do that.
I used to make time to watch football. Now I will watch it, but I will not make time since the kneeling came in.
Yep.
And that's the customer they've lost. 50% of the time, I won't be there.
I agree. So they better understand that. So they want $4 million, $5 million a year.
Yeah.
You know, there's pay. You know, don't make comments about me or them. You understand your audience, and if you don't care about your audience, and that's all the power to these people. If they don't care and they're willing to take less money, then that's up to them.
Like at halftime, I might shut it off and go do something
Yep.
else. That's your job. You're getting about 30 to 50%.
I think there's some people like you. A lot of people like you.
Josh McDaniels fiasco, what did they offer McDaniels to have him back away from?
Josh McDaniels. So okay, I will tell you this. I spoke to a friend of his in coaching 5 years ago, and he said, I wouldn't be surprised if Josh retired from the NFL and coached a high school team. He's into his family. Being an NFL coach, he's got 4 kids, by the way. Being an NFL coach, assistant's I think even worse than head coach. Assistant coach in the NFL works 90 to 100 hours a week. So I think there's 168 hours in a week. So we take 168 minus 100, that's 68. You have 68 hours to sleep and be with your family. That's divided by 7. So that's not a lot of hours during the season. And I know they'll get some time off, maybe to go to Hawaii. But like, personally, I love the NFL. I would even love to be involved in being part of a team and strategizing. That to me is exciting. I didn't miss. I'm not bragging, but my son played in 2,000 events and plays and choruses. I missed 7 of them. And I mean that because I wanted to go. I was offered a position for a company that's around right now in sports, working nights. And this is when my son was entering high school, and it just wasn't right. I said, I can't work 3 to 11 and miss everything. I have more fun going, and I said this to Tom Brady, nothing against you, but I'd rather see my son play than see you play. And he goes, really? And he said, but he understood. He goes, I agree with you, because I'd rather see my son play than watch an NFL game. And his son's, he's got like 8 and 7, so. So McDaniels, here's the point. I think McDaniels wanted to stay. He's now been in New England since 2001. He's been around. He left for 3 years, was 2 years in Denver, 1 year in St. Louis. I think he basically said, I think his wife said, I don't want to really go to the Colts. I'd like to stay here. And I think the Patriots also juiced it up. Hang around. Can't promise you, because we don't know what Bill's ever going to do, but you're the next guy. And he's very well respected. I will tell you, Josh McDaniels, when he was like just up and coming, was like a receivers coach. A Patriots guy said, watch this, remember this name, Josh McDaniels. And I said, what? Josh who? And I said, I'd never heard of him. He goes, yeah, he's an assistant. Bill loves him. He's got a mind made for this sport. So why'd he stay? He's now going to be made assistant head football coach. Oh, he also got a raise from $1 million to $3 million. Oh, that helps.
Change his mind.
So he's paid almost like a head coach. But I think he's been said he can stay here. His kids can stay in school. I mean, we know how it's tough to move our kids. I moved a lot. I hated it. If you got a daughter that's 12 or 11 and you move her, you're a dead man, So I think that was part of the reason he stayed. And he's one of the most respected guys in the business. So that's another point. They got him back. We had sort of said he was gone. So with Josh McDaniels back, I think the offense is going to be fine. I think they got other areas they got to fix.
You think he was afraid of having the same experience he had in Denver?
No, I think, people got on him for that. I think everyone learns. I think he made bad mistakes there. Belichick, same thing in Cleveland. Now, Belichick's experience in Cleveland, he took a couple years, bad years, then he had that really good team, and then they moved the team. But Belichick didn't treat people right. Belichick also controlled everything in Cleveland. And then he sort of figured out, I can't do that. I got to hire him to do his job. I got to let him do his job and have them report to me like a CEO. And I think he figured that out. So I think McDaniels made the decision which is right for him, and I believe he's going to be the head coach in a couple of years here.
Yeah, just talking a little bit about press conferences, I guess, either with the Patriots or Red Sox, I guess any of the big teams. It seems like the Patriots is very regimented where, I don't know, it's almost like when you watch the post games, only certain guys get to ask questions and all that. So what's that about? Is there a list or something that you have?
No, I try to ask questions a lot. I'm there, I've been there, so I don't know if you guys saw the 30 for 30, the 2 Bills.
Yeah, I saw that.
Great, interesting. So I know both. When I say I know them, I don't mean in a brag sense. I'm one of only 2 reporters, I believe, in Boston. Ron Borges, who's got a little issue he's dealing with right now. Ron Borges and myself covered all of Parcells and all of Belichick. So I've been there for the whole run. I started 2 years before Parcells got there, when McPherson was there. Great guy. So I sort of got a little of both of them. Back to your question, Belichick runs the Patriots, and it's the reason why they're successful. It's the reason why you heard a Philadelphia player say yesterday or 2 days ago that the Patriots don't have fun, they run it by fear. He was quoted as saying, we have fun. What he didn't mention was the Patriots, for 18 years, have been at the top. They've competed for championships literally every year. That's unheard of. Forget about winning 5, they compete for championships every year. And I think what Belichick does, which is not normal, he runs it like a military operation. Nobody speaks out of turn. If a player says something, he calls him in his office, don't ever say that again, in terms of giving up what we do or what another team does. We don't want anyone to know what we're thinking. Now, it's not great for the media. It's not great for the fans, but it gets the job done. The Patriots have the smallest coaching staff in the NFL by 3 coaches, the smallest. Think about it, 18 years the best, they have the smallest coaching staff. So it's a more centralized, quote unquote, government. It's an operation. Everyone has roles, you play your role, and that's it. Don't try to be something else. I'm the general, you're the lieutenants and corporals, and it works. And I'm not saying it's great for the press, but I will say it's
Yeah.
when everyone knows what they're supposed to do. And I will tell you this, here's a great comment from offensive line coach. Remember 2 years Dante left. He was gone for 2 years, he retired. And they brought in Dave DeGuja, they call him Googes. All right. I talked to him at the Super Bowl, because we get to talk to all the coaches. And he was great. He's from Cambridge, local guy, Boston guy, Italian, blabbermouth. That's why he was gone, by the way. He talked a little too much. He said, I've never been in an organization where everyone's on the same page. It struck me. He said, everyone is on the same page. The ball boys, the coaches. He goes, we get our plan on Wednesday, how we're going to beat the team, and it's all systems go. And he said, it's amazing. So that's, you take the good with the bad. The good is your team wins consistently because they do the same stuff. The bad is we get no information or very little information. We don't get the fun stories the other teams do. I will tell you this, I traveled to Tampa Bay to cover, Patriots played at Tampa on a Thursday night. I went down on a Tuesday. Why did I go on a Tuesday? Because these teams talk. I mean, I went down and they're all yapping away, and this one player gave me, their defensive lineman, their best player, told me a story about Brady. When Brady was in 5 years earlier, he said Brady inspired him at a Patriots scrimmage that they have, the 2 teams work together. Watching Brady run the team and demand guys do the right thing in July or August, he said it flipped me out, and I said that's the way I got to be if I want to be a great player. And I wouldn't have got that, but he wouldn't have told, I wouldn't get a Patriot to tell me that. He told me that because I went down there. Pittsburgh's great. Those guys won't shut up. And Pittsburgh, so I go to Pittsburgh and they're all, it's a different animal. So I enjoy hearing other teams talk because they will talk. And with the Patriots, if you say something out of line, and you know who made an interesting comment about it was Ninkovich, Rob Ninkovich, talked about, he said this the other day, talked about how a couple years earlier, during training camp, a fan, one of the media members said, what do you guys have to work on this year? Well, we got to work on our third down screen passes, something we got to work on, third down screen passes. He said the next day, Belichick Reddick called him in, what the hell are you telling them about we need to work on our third down screen pass? Nobody needs to know that. That's how Belichick is. I mean, third down screen passes, who the bleep cares? But so why? There's a trade-off. He's 18 years. That's all I can say. And guess what? It's going to be 19 years too. We're near the end, but we're going to get another year of this too. I think next year though we got 3 or 4 teams. I think Jacksonville gets a quarterback, maybe Foles. We got I think Houston, Bill O'Brien, one of my favorites. That team's going to be hungry. And he's got a bunch of expatriate coaches working for him. That could be interesting too, including Welker. So not going to be easy, Nick. Might be tougher next year to get there, but I think the Patriots are going to be better, might be more suited for it. So we'll see.
And one of my friends,
2 more questions because we got another TV show we got to do in Georgetown apparently.
so one of my friends went down to the islands and watched a game down there.
Yes.
At Ruber or wherever, and he says he was outnumbered. And he was not actually intimidated about rooting for the Patriots.
Because people hate them so much.
They're so hated.
It's awful, and it's like, look, let's be honest. When we watch Alabama play in the national championship game, we're rooting against Alabama.
Yeah.
That's how people are with the Patriots. So it's like, I'm tired of Alabama, I don't like Nick Saban. It's like, you're basically saying what other people say about the Patriots. I want new teams, I'm sick of this machine. I can't stand Alabama. I can't stand watching them.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they win every year. It's the Patriots, and he's
Yeah, they
he's a
can't
Belichick
stand
fan.
I grew up hating the
winning all the
Yankees.
time.
I know, same thing. Last question.
So, just about the Celtics, in the column yesterday, one of the other writers mentioned at the end, they were talking about Tatum, comparing him to Paul Pierce. And
That was in the Eagle Tribune. Thanks for reading that, by the way.
he alluded to the fact that they might trade Tatum to get Anthony Davis from the
Well, it could happen. I will say this, what we're seeing is, Tatum's 19 years old. So,
But he's your future.
but he is the future, but you can also bring in potentially, and I don't know how great he's gonna be. Now, Paul Pierce said, I think he's gonna be the next me. If that's the if you can guarantee that, Paul, if you can lay that money down and tell me that's gonna absolutely happen, I would never think of getting rid of him. I'm not 100% sure. Now, Anthony Davis, sure thing. Top 10 player, maybe on a Celtics team, a top 5 player. Then you add him with Kyrie and Hayward. I will tell you, the Cleveland game, let's see that was embarrassing. We'll see what happens in the next couple weeks. Do they react from that? Was that just a blip in the screen? Because Cleveland looked like the Golden State Warriors that day. And I think they were on a high. I think they got to rest a little bit. All their celebrating they did acted as if, this is something they've been doing a lot of. So LeBron was, looking like a 12-year-old kid celebrating on the side. But good for them, because they've had a tough year. The Celtics we're going to see here. Marcus Smart's out. I'm not like a big Marcus Smart guy, because the guy's obsessed with shooting, but he's tough. And they miss that little toughness right now. I think they're a little soft, because they're noted as the best defensive team in the NBA. Haven't been that lately. So interesting what happens with Tatum. A lot of people think he's the be-all, end-all. I'm not one of them. I'm not saying I don't think he's going to be very good. I'm not sure he's going to be a superstar. Now, to be 19 and doing what he's doing, I guess I should shut up and just say he's going to be a star, but I'm not sure. Guys, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
I'm not a football.